Oh, yes.
Welcome back, everyone. Today we're taking a look at the brand new Netflix Transformers War for Cybertron Deluxe Class Deep Cover. Deep Cover is one of the new Deluxe Class toys coming in the third wave of Netflix's War for Cybertron trilogy toy line, and he is a direct redeco of the Autobot Sideswipe mold, who was previously released in the first wave. Now, Deep Cover is a very interesting case because he's being released at right about the same time as a Select Deep Cover, who uses the same mold, but essentially an inverted color scheme, whereas instead of being blue with black accents, he's black with blue accents. The Select toy is the more G1 toy accurate of the two. This guy owes his coloration to a background character seen in the first season of the War for Cybertron cartoon on Netflix. And I swear they're not paying me to say Netflix. Just how it's coming out. So this guy, he's really bizarre because he's not very accurate to how the deep cover character is supposed to look. He's just a background extra who's given the identity as deep cover. So he's definitely an odd inclusion here. Personally, I think they should have just given this guy a different name, right? You could have deep cover and then have this guy who looks quite different from him just be someone else, but that's neither here nor there. Anyway, if you've seen my reviews before, you know how this goes. We're going to take a look at Deep Cover's packaging, then we'll open it up, we'll see his instructions, and then we'll see Deep Cover himself in both his vehicle and robot modes. I'm not going to whip out every single different variant of the Sideswipe mold, just select ones for the group shots and comparisons. And then at the end of the video, I'll give my final thoughts. So Deep Cover comes in normally what I'd say your standard Netflix Deluxe packaging. However, there are some notable differences between this and the previous two waves. The first thing you might notice is that instead of being in a little plastic shell here, he's just up against a cardboard backdrop, just like the Kingdom figures. So they're finally making the change to the more eco-friendly, heavier use of cardboard instead of the plastic. So you see that starting to take shape here in Wave 3. Another very subtle difference is that they took the War for Cybertron logo here and they moved it up significantly, leaving a lot more blank space here. And that also cuts down on the amount of plastic needed because the window is just that much smaller. One more thing I noticed is that the little name tab here does appear to be bigger than the previous waves. And I don't know if that's a universal truth or not, or just because he has a slightly longer name than some. But I think that's moving toward it too. They're just shrinking the plastic window down and just minimizing how much they actually use. And that's part of Hasbro's whole eco-friendly pledge. So we go ahead and turn Deep Cover here. You can see his artwork, which really is just the Sideswipe artwork. It's black and white, so you can't tell, a color difference per se. But yeah, they just recycled it from the first wave. Then on the back, you get renders of the toy, which, as far as I can tell, look pretty faithful to the finished product. Some slight differences in the battle damage, it looks like. He takes 17 steps to transform. This guy's a little city and rank badge here. And then here we get a high contrast black, white, and red version of the Kingdom side panel artwork. So they've been doing that with the Netflix toys, is whatever season it's based around, they just copy the main line's side panel and just do it up in this very Sin City-esque style. So if anything, it might help you actually get a better look at the artwork because it is, higher contrast and some of the images might be a little bit easier to make out than the standard artwork. So just some food for thought. Like I never noticed Shockwave standing behind Scorponok before. So it helps out a little bit, makes it more clear. All right, so that's our package with all the slight differences from the previous wave. Let's go ahead and open this guy up. All right, here we get the instruction book for Deep Cover. And you can see it's got his name, branding, all that. A render that's indistinguishable from the Sideswipe one, so I don't know if they recycled it or not. Hard to tell if it's all black and white. We get the how-to here for installing his little shoulder cannon, though I will say I don't recommend placing it on this side because then you get this 5mm post that just kind of jabbing him in the head. Really limits his articulation. So I recommend going the cartoon accurate side over here. All right, and then we just get straight into the transformation. Nothing too fancy. You've probably seen this transformation 100 times by now. Weapon storage and vehicle mode. Okay, now we get the vehicle mode, and you might notice a little something, just something slightly different, just kind of new. I don't know what it could be. So, yeah, I went and bought one of those little turnstile display things because I've seen some other people use them. I thought it was kind of a cool idea, so I got one to test it out. Let me know what you think of this approach, if you like having the figures, you know, just kind of rotate as I talk about them. I figure it's better than just them standing there statically, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I really am a huge fan of the way this vehicle mode turned out. You can see right here, as we point out on the other deep cover, he's got red painted taillights, which is a first for the entire Bold family. They never get the painted taillights. Or if they are painted, you know, they're just painted over the same color as the back end. You get this really cool, like, dirt streak effect going on the windshield. You get the battle damage on the hood. It's going to get weird as I try to talk about something and it keeps rotating. So you get the scraping on the hood. You get, like, the blast marks here, which are kind of similar, but not the same as the one for the Netflix Sideswipe. And, yeah, overall, I really like it. It comes out looking very nice. Blue is one of my favorite colors. I absolutely love blue sports cars, so he is a big win for me. You'll also notice that his cannon is just done up in black plastic, while the missile part is actually gray plastic. So no paint, just two different plastic colors. So that's kind of cool. Okay, now we get a look at his Selects version, the mostly black deep cover. And that version is much more accurate to the character's traditional design and coloration. Plus, it is a better value because not only does it come with the missile launcher missile, it comes with the actual long rifle. So, unfortunately, this new Netflix toy is just not as much of a value for your $20 as this one is. So, something to keep in mind. Our new deep cover is obviously also just not very, you know, accurate to anything. He's just doing his own thing. He's almost like a G2 version of deep cover. Whereas, you know, like G2 Sideswipe, the colors are inverted. So it's up to you. Personally, I like them both. And I really wish that they would have just made this deep cover a separate character entirely. They could have just named him like Autobot Soldier, like something generic. Just it's a weird choice. I mean, there's no reason to say that deep cover couldn't have been mostly blue, you know, during the siege portion of the War for Cybertron. And then as he's out there exploring the cosmos, taking on his traditional colors, gotten a weapon upgrade. It's kind of how I'm going to headcanon it. But I do really like seeing these two together. They're both very different. You got the mostly blue, mostly black, very dark tinted windshield, very clear. This one's got all like the police badges on it and stuff. So they're each doing their own thing, and I appreciate them for it. Plus, again, only the ones with painted taillights, so that's pretty awesome. Now we get a look with the other Netflix uses of this mold. So we get the Wave 1 Netflix Sideswipe and the Wave 2 Netflix Red Alert, who I just reviewed pretty recently. And again, they're each doing their own thing. You can see Sideswipe and Deep Cover are both using primary colors as their main coloration, whereas Red Alert just goes with mostly white with some red striping. Plus, he's the only one that's like a police type vehicle, or I guess in this case, like a fire dispatch kind of vehicle. And, you know, it's kind of, I don't know, it's gratifying. It's really nice to see these all come together. And I use these guys as opposed to like all the other different Sideswipes because they're specifically the Netflix ones, right? The ones that are supposed to be all dirty and battle damage, so they all look like they're part of a matching set. And I dig it. I think they just work really well together, and they're going to look good on your Netflix shelf. Okay, here we get the robot mode. And one thing I want to point out real quick is, for some reason, this guy's shin panels right here that are on the underside of his car, they're much more difficult to separate from the main legs than any other version of this mold I've handled so far. Could just be my copy, might not. The only real reason I could think for why that is, this is, a lot of it's painted. I wonder if they got paint down in here, though I don't know. This looks like the bare plastic. So I don't know, just weird tolerance things. It's not too bad. It usually gets a little looser after you do it a bit. But, you know, that first time might feel a little spooky, might make you think like, oh no, I'm going to break my toy. But you shouldn't. Should be all right. Let's go ahead and adjust this up. I got to get used to this. It's kind of cool, though. I like it. All right, look at that. Look how heroic and awesome this guy looks. Again, love the colors, love the paint. He gets a lot of battle damage without looking a little overly grimdark like Sideswipe does. And one thing that makes him unique amongst his peers, in addition to, the taillights, the fact that here, for his secondary colors, right, on his arms, his legs, all that, he's the only Sideswipe variant that doesn't use some shade of white there. He goes with this silverish gray color, which I think is cool. It really helps set him apart from any other version of this mold, and makes him more than just a simple, black and blue color swap of the standard deep cover. I was going to say clamp down, but deep cover. I got clamped down in my mind. So yeah, I really like the way he comes out. I think the silver just really, really complements his blue color scheme. And yeah, again, I think it's a shame that he only comes with like the one, missile launcher type setup and not both guns. But, it is what it is. I think I had a theory with the last deep cover review that it seems the more paint they put on, some version of this, and he's got quite a bit, the less likely you are to get two weapons, because the only two versions of this, which are regular deep cover and Tiger Track, that, actually have both weapons, are relatively unpainted compared to all their mold mates. So I think that's what it is. I think if you get a lot of paint, you're only getting one or the other. That's my working theory. Hopefully, when the inevitable Earth Mode, Sideswipe, and Red Alert come around, they're just not going to skimp and we'll get everything. Because I'm tired of getting one or the other. Like, all of their G1 counterparts had both. There's no reason they shouldn't either. So I think that's a huge, huge shame. All right, now we get our second shot with the Selects deep cover. Again, so you can see how they compare and contrast. Their blacks and blues are pretty much flipped. You got white or silver. I will point out that the blues on the Selects clampdown are quite a bit darker than this guy's. His are a much more sports car shade of blue, which I like. I wouldn't really want his whole car mode being this dark blue, though I like this dark blue when it comes to being an accent color. I think it looks really cool. Really, really brings you back to that like G1 feel where they tended to have, darker muted colors back then. So overall, I like it. I think it's, again, still a shame that one of these guys gets two weapons, the other one doesn't. But they complement each other pretty well. And one thing I want to point out, because I think I compared this guy to one of the generics in Siege. Now that I think more on it, he's not really a one-for-one match. He does have the blue and the gray or silver, but that guy, his hands and helmet were also blue like the rest of his body. So this guy breaks it up a little bit more. I don't know if they're meant to be the same character, because it sure wouldn't be the first case of inaccuracy between, the show and the toy that's supposed to be based on the show. You see that quite a bit in this Netflix line. But, either way, you can imagine he's that guy. You can imagine he's some off-screen character. Or, because he is being released in Wave 3, it's very possible he shows up in the third season somewhere in Kingdom. I don't know how he would. I mean, I guess he could have been on the Ark and just otherwise unseen until, sometime then. We're going to have to see how that plays out. I'm looking forward to Kingdom. I hope it, I wanted to get here soon. I hope it ends up impressing us, because I have very mixed feelings on the first two seasons. And now our last group shot is going to be the other two Netflix Lambros again. So, Sideswipe, Red Alert, for those unfamiliar. And yeah, they really do a good job of looking like distinct characters despite all using the same base mold. They have different color breakups, different color choices, different choices of weapons. Technically these two are the same, and I just have him wielding his shoulder cannon instead, just to help make it a little less samey. But I still think it works really well. In reality, right, when you have a group of soldiers, like, human soldiers, they're all going to look very much the same, right? Maybe different colors, their uniforms, different rankings, things like that. But from a distance, they're all going to look like almost clones of each other. So you would, kind of expect to see the same thing here, right? There's not a reason every Cybertronian has to be, like, super unique from one another, other than, obviously, to sell toys, right? More designs, more toys you can sell. So yeah, I really like the way this came out. I think he's easily my favorite Netflix use of this mold. I don't know about all of them, because I do like the Selects deep cover a lot. But even out of all of them, he's up there. He's got to be easily my top 2 or 3. So yeah, I think that's pretty much going to cover everything we need to talk about with the new deep cover here. I think he's great. Again, I keep stressing that I wish he had been named as a different character, or, we get some sort of explanation for why he looks so radically different from his standard self. Again, maybe Kingdom will show us something. Who knows? We'll find out. But I do like him for what he is. I know a lot of people don't want this one because he's not the right colors. I like having variety. I'd actually be less interested in him if he was the same colors as the Selects, because he'd probably still come with less accessories. Then he would just be a purely inferior version. At least having a new color scheme, and an interesting one at that, makes him, worth picking up and intriguing. And, there's no one that says you can't pretend in your head he's someone else, right? It's your toy. So I think he's worth picking up. I think he's one of the more interesting toys in this wave. He's got a great color scheme. And, the Sideswipe mold is just a great mold. There's a reason it keeps getting used. It's just really good. It's very basic. No crazy bells and whistles, but it excels as both a vehicle and a robot. So I think you should pick this guy up. Even if you weren't really planning to, I think you should give him a chance. I think you'll be very pleased with what you get. Of course, that is just how I feel about this new Deep cover. Now I want to know what you all think of him. Do you plan on picking this up? Do you like him for what he is? Or do you think he's a better Deep cover than the Selects version? Or do you not like this guy? Is he too samey? Do you have no attachment to the character? I mean, he's really obscure, right? It's an obscure character, and it's a figure that doesn't really even look like that character, so it's really out there. No matter what, I really look forward to hearing you guys' feedback in the comments section. If you enjoyed this review, make sure to toss it a like. Let YouTube know you want to see more stuff like this. If you do want to see more stuff like this, make sure to subscribe and click the notification bell so you always get a heads up when I post something new. I thank you for joining me for this look at the brand new Transformers Netflix War for Cybertron Deep cover. And with all that said, I will see you next time.